But George doesn't understand our family. I mean, do you do this? I think it runs in our family. Sometimes we have anxiety. Our tias, our tios, our cousins.
Oh yeah.
I know me. I could have 1,000 positive feedback and then one bad. I just focus on that one bad one. Like maybe they're right.
All right, 2H2Fers. We are back. It's Thursday. You know what that means. We're wearing the same clothes.
This.
Jueves Bebes.
Hell
Thirsty Thursdays.
yeah,
We're back with Mrs. Estrada.
Mrs. Not Miss, Mrs. Estrada.
You know
No,
what? If you think that you're gonna just like smooth yourself out into the weekend,
hell no.
then you don't know too hard, too fast.
Yeah, it's
We're gonna
true.
go hard and fast. And that makes no sense.
Yeah,
But
that
you
sounded
know what?
funny.
We're gonna talk about real stuff. And
Good
I
stuff.
appreciate this.
I don't appreciate anything except for me prima.
So sit back, buckle up,
Legit.
and let's go. Too hard, too fast.
Into a ton.
Boom.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast.
Welcome back to Too Hard Too Fast, where I thought I had to be like this super like person, and it just goes against who I am. So,
The podcast of the century.
Right.
but to answer your thing, Worm, like our family does all struggle. I think that there's a lot of mental health issues that we just don't discuss, unfortunately. So I've discovered therapy. Therapy is like my favorite thing.
I have my self medication right here. So
I'm gonna do that, but no, right? Because
You do
when
therapy
you
though?
go- yeah.
okay, nice.
Mhm.
I've been thinking about doing that too.
I think
I
it's
get,
good.
huh?
I think it's good. I think everybody should go to therapy, like sometimes.
I want to, and I need to because I think I get 6 free counseling sessions with my insurance. So
And you should
I
honestly
should I should just do it.
do it. Not because like there's anything. And I always say that people are.
No,
always like,
I know. Yeah. Well, even George's wife told me. Well, I could say her name, Jen. Even she told me like, just even if you think you don't need it, it's still healthy. It's like seeing a doctor. Well, I mean, they are a doctor. You know what I mean? Just a mental health doctor. So, but I'm sorry, Esme, what were you saying though?
Oh, you're good. No. That's fine. Sorry. No, just that like I during quarantine, like I started realizing exactly like what Jorge said. Like I had developed certain like neural pathways, right? Like I had been doing certain actions that my brain kept trying to repeat, and I kept expecting to have these different outcomes. I was in a really bad place at the beginning of quarantine, which is why this TikTok really helped in the sense of it gave me an outlet. It gave me an outlet to do fun and silly things as I was working through this really ugly, dark stuff that I'd had since I was a kid. And I didn't know. I just kept, like I do, like it was not, I'm like, I got to the point where my husband was
Mr. Estrada.
Yes, Mr. Estrada, 915. No, he was really,
915.
he was really worried about me because he was
Wow.
He's like, yeah,
Some randoms TikTok is gonna go.
All right.
Why am I getting this? Are you married to Mrs.
What?
Estrada?
There's a Mrs. Estrada out there for me.
You're gonna meet at Chico's Tacos.
I don't. Yeah. Oh, I've taken them once. Georgia's been once or twice, right? Chicos.
And I've gotten chorro twice.
don't even
Three
lie.
times.
Don't
Three
even.
I know. They always say, "Oh, I had stomach aches for 3 days."
Oh, 100%. I've gone
Yeah, get outta
twice
here.
and gotten it 3 times. Just like even thinking about it, it's like, oh man, I need to go. I need to go pray to God or something.
All right, back, like Mr. Estrada though. So he was worried about you though.
Yeah. But I mean, point is, I'm still going, still getting up, and I'm pretty open about stuff like this with my students. Like I've gone before when I was like a kid, when I was younger, but I stopped going. And then now that I'm an adult, like the big thing for me is I want to, like, it's funny because you mentioned our family. Sorry, it's gonna get real dark. My bad.
Let's do
Oh,
it.
before you do that, I
You have
wanna-
no
I
idea
wanna-
how
I
dark
wanna
we've gotten
go
on the
there.
podcast.
I want to go there. I just don't know if we can go from dark to. Nah, fuck it.
I know how to do
Let's
it.
go
I know
dark.
how to get us out of the dark.
No. I have a question in my head that I want to
I'm
ask
warning you
you.
guys. I'm gonna mention Jesus Christ. All right, but let's go to the
And
dark.
well, yeah, I already mentioned God, and I feel bad about it already.
Yeah, well, I don't.
I might cut it out, Just kidding.
Hasmin and I used to be in a cult, so we know what that's about.
Oh my God, we did, dude. I'm glad that you're saying it too. But
Hey,
the
don't worry.
right?
Don't worry. When Ricky was on, we even said, "Hey, bro, remember when we were in a cult? Are you still in the cult?" So that's all right.
What did he say?
No, he was laughing. It's all good. So
No, okay.
anyway,
So go dark.
We'll talk
and
about
then-
that later, though. But hey, I do want to hear. Go to the dark place. So
I'm gonna go to the dark place. Yeah. So no, here's what it is. Like, I think there's like a generational trauma is a real thing, right? Like our parents were struggling with their own mental health
I'm
issues.
just
or
gonna
their
keep
own-
the light on me though.
Yes, please do. Their own, right? Their own mental health issues, and then there wasn't really a way for them to get help back then. It was like you push through, and then
or the Hispanic culture was toughen up, or just get through it, or.
dude, I'll never forget. I was 13, and I told my dad like I was having all these issues. So you know a little bit about my background, right? And I'm pretty open about this, even with my students. Like my dad was an alcoholic. He still is, unfortunately, in and out of prison for a long time because of his DUIs and stuff. And he's in a better place now. But
I added him on Facebook recently.
Dude, I don't even think I have him on Facebook.
All right. He requested. He requested.
He's a good man who has had, he's got his demons, right? Like we all do. Unfortunately, the one who suffered the most was probably my mom, because she got married when she was so young. But that's not my story to tell. My story is that I'll never forget. I was like 13 or 14, that Mexican culture, and I told my dad, I was in middle school, and I was like, Dad, I'm struggling. Like I don't want to be alive anymore. Like I want to hurt myself. And I'll never forget. He's like, only stupid people commit suicide, and don't forget that. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, that helps. Thanks.
Yeah, super nice. Woo, I'm smart. Don't gotta commit suicide. No, right? But like, and I think that's why I clung onto the cult. So because I wanted something, right? Like I wanted something to help me feel better. And then that took a really dark turn too, because that's a weird thing.
And also, I want to say like it's not stupid people that commit suicide, but that's to believe. Like, unfortunately, like I was like, oh, he was, and I hate that when people say that. Like, no, it's somebody that didn't get help, that was reaching out probably, and they just didn't get the help, or didn't get somebody that was listening to them, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
it's.
Well, I remember in my abnormal psychology class, it was sad because I remember one of our professors, he was talking about it. And it's true though. I mean, people literally mentally, it just becomes a tunnel, and they honestly feel like, wow, this is the only choice I have. I really have no choice but to kill myself. You know what I mean? It's sad in that they feel like that's their only option. So yeah.
It's crazy because like as I got I got through high school, and I always had these struggles. But and then I wound up getting pregnant, right? Really, well, I got pregnant my freshman year of college. My husband, my now husband.
Hell yeah! Can I say that? Yeah. Okay. All right.
my now husband, back then boyfriend. We'd been together since we were juniors in high school, and then I was a mom. So suddenly I had this thing, right? So like I'm going to college, and I'm a mom, and we're working, and we're at Texas A&M because we wanted to leave, and I didn't ever want my kid to feel like I gave up anything because I had. Does that make sense? Like I didn't want him to think I had any kind of. I'm like, no, we're still gonna do everything we said. We're gonna do everything we said with my son.
No matter, just because I'm in this situation, it wasn't gonna stop me from keep going or moving forward. Yeah, that's a good thought, and that's a good goal, and that's a good thing to tell people.
And we did it. I still don't know how we did it. There were weeks where my husband and I ran off of ramen because we were like we couldn't afford.
Gosh.
So we'd buy food for and then I'm just gonna
Once again.
Tell us.
Yeah, where we buy food for him, right? We'd buy like chicken and veggies, and he and I would be like 23-cent ramen 3 times a day. This is awesome. But we did it. Like we paid our our rent. We did what we had to do. We got our degrees, and now we're both educators, and so we have our home and stuff, right? Nice. But like it's weird. So you would think like, okay, she's been through all this. Like I'm in a good place now. Like I'm moving into this like promotion at work. Like I was in this good place at the beginning of quarantine in a lot of ways, but I was also throughout all that time, I just kept masking. Like I knew that was there. Does that make sense? Like I knew that ugly thing was there, and I just was like, nah, it's fine. So I would do more and more. I would do more and more at work, and more all the time to not feel that. And then quarantine happened, and no one could do anything. So I was like, dang, like what am I gonna do now? Like I'm just left to sit. And then I started that tunnel. That's exactly what it feels like.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
Dude, yeah, because you start to convince yourself, like, like my kids would actually be a lot better without me. Like, these are all the ways I messed up as a mom. These are all the ways that I
Oh my
messed up as
gosh.
a wife. Yeah, it was ugly. It was bad, bad, bad. And I got help, thank God. Thank God I had a husband who was supportive and helped me get help, and like my mom was
But
helpful.
even he noticed that though, right?
Oh, it was, yeah. Like he'll tell you, like if you were to ask him now, like he'll tell you, like there was, and it's true. Like it's like I couldn't feel. I don't know how else to describe it. It was weird. It was weird. And there's a lot of other stuff going on, but like that I think kind of triggered it a little bit. But
How did you go about like realizing that you needed help?
I couldn't, like I lost a crap. You wouldn't believe it now because I've gained it back and then some. But I lost like 15 to 20 pounds within like a couple of weeks. Like, and I'm not a bigger person. Like I weighed at the beginning maybe like 135, and I was down to 120 within like, because I couldn't eat. Like I physically couldn't eat, which is not like me. I love food.
But then you said like you to yourself, you said I need help, or did
part of
somebody force you or tell you?
No, I knew something was wrong because I knew that I started having these thoughts of like my kids would be so much better without me. Like they, Sergio could get remarried and find a much better mom and a much better wife. Yeah, I know. It was not.
And I don't mean that like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're thinking about it. It's just like I try to put myself in people's shoes, and it's like, fuck. I mean, I'm trying to be empathetic and stuff, but yeah, that's horrible to even think that and feel it. You know what I mean? Even if you think, at least for me, even if you think that's not true, it doesn't change how it feels though. Like, you still feel it's true, even though you might even know, well, that's not true, but it still feels true. You know what I mean? So,
and that's exactly, and like rational, smart me, right? Smart me.
Yeah. Logical. You're logical.
Yeah, logical. Yeah, understood. This doesn't make sense. Like, no, like what you're saying doesn't make sense. Like, yes, you're not the perfect mother, but you're working and you do this, but it didn't matter, right? Because I still had these emotions. So I went to go talk to a therapist. So part of it, you asked like, why? Like I knew something was wrong when I couldn't, like it was to the point where I hated going to sleep because I knew that I was going to wake up the next day. And I was like, I don't want to wake up and have that emotion. Like it was ugly. And so
I'm not smiling because like, oh, that's weird, but I'm smiling because I've had those same thoughts. Like sometimes I think like, I hope I don't wake up, to be honest, next day.
Right. And it's not even because anything's going bad in your life. Right?
Yeah. Just don't want to live. It's like,
no, I get it. And
George don't get it, bro. It runs in our family.
I get it.
You know what? And Diego, he was even talking about like all this anxiety, and he was, all this stuff. Judo, she's talked about that too. And so Ringy opened up a brewery because he gets free beer. So that's just,
I think my anxiety comes in a different situation. Like I don't think like I don't think in the sense of like I could be better. Like, I do think about I could be better, but I don't think about like ending it. Like I've never thought about that. What I think about is, or my anxiety comes is like how things could end. And so I constantly think about like, this is a intersection. Here we go. Like, and I like the 3 seconds it takes for me to cross that intersection. I thought about 100 ways that I could get, and certain things, certain situations, like when I went to the cruise with Worm, I don't know how many times I pictured
him falling
off the balcony.
Like, no, dude.
For no fucking
Dude, if I go, I'm gonna just swim, bro. I've even said, bro, if it makes you feel better, I'll dive. And I'll do the dolphin kick, and I'll carry you, bro. Don't worry.
No, I like.
Oh, actually, I did have to save him. I did have to save him in the Cayman Islands. He almost.
Oh yes, in the Cayman Islands, I almost did drown. I actually was drowning. God. I was drowning. In like 100%.
It was for snorkeling, and he's all, I don't need a lifeguard or what life vest.
I felt like I was a strong swimmer, but I just got caught in the water, and I was drowning. But like I was sitting in the living room, staring out at the balcony, door closed, and saying, I can fall off the balcony. And just like thinking about how I can fall off of it. And then getting all this weird anxiety stuff. And then thinking about how other people I care about can fall off the balcony. But that's it. That's where I think about stuff like that. I can't fly comfortably because I think about all kinds of stuff. I'm scared of flying. And if I bring people on the airplane with me, I'm thinking about I brought them on here and it's my fault if something happens. because I have no control of it. So I have that kind of anxiety. I don't think about like, oh, like I don't. I said, ooh, but I don't. I don't think about it in a way of like ending my life. I know other people do, and
Mhm.
so I like. There's no way I can talk about that for them or for y'all, but that's how where I think about it. That's why I was like, no, I can't relate to that, but I have other kind of stuff.
And I get it's like you understand that it's irrational, right? Like you're like, I mean, why,
Definitely, 100%.
right? Like you get it,
I
yeah. But
was
it's
thinking, yes, because I was thinking about people that weren't even on the cruise with me
falling off.
falling off the balcony. And I was like, they're not even here. Why am I even thinking about that?
I
That makes
get it,
no sense. But I was, and it was freaking me out.
and it's funny. So that's actually it's really similar to like when I'm like, okay, Jasmine, like you've done this and you've done this in your life, and like yeah, like you're not perfect, like you've messed up like this, but you know you've done all these good things and you've helped these students, and it didn't, and it's not, I don't want to say it didn't matter, but it's like I physically couldn't put that into any kind of rational perspective, right? Just like you couldn't rationally, like it didn't, you understood these people are not on this boat, but it still scares me, right? It was the same thing, except it started getting really, really bad to the point where I was like, okay, how do you buy this medication, like best medication to like, it was, and I was like, how do I use the dark web to do this? Yeah, 'cause I was
Well,
like,
you don't, just call me, dude. I'll hook you up. Nah, just
well, I mean, it was like bad. It was bad, but I when I started losing weight, that was a big like I'll never forget. I couldn't eat. Like I was like in like the third week or so of like I just can't eat. I was eating maybe like 200 calories a day because that's all I could like stomach. And my mom was here, and she was like, "Oh, that's all you're going to eat?" And my oldest son, he was like, "Oh, mom doesn't eat." I was like, fuck, like he noticed. Like I was like trying, I am in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm still being the same me because we would still go out and we would do stuff. And he was like, mom doesn't eat right now. And he's like, she doesn't feel good. And I was like, shit, like I have to get out. Like, because I read this statistic and it was like kids, and I could get it wrong now, but I remember it was like kids of parents who commit suicide are like 60% more likely or 70% more likely to try to do it themselves. Oh, wow. And I was like, I can't leave my kids with that. And not only that, I'm like, I'm affecting them because I'm letting my own like stuff hurt them. So I get into therapy, and the therapist it was so nice to be validated because he's like, you have trauma, dude. He's like, well, he didn't call me dude, but he's like, you have trauma from your childhood and it's affecting you now. Like it's probably affected you forever, but because you've been going, you never gave it time. He's like, what were you like in high school? And I was like, I did everything I could do. I was never home. I was always doing stuff. And
you always
like,
try to occupy your mind, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. And you know that every extracurricular I could do, I was going to do it 100% because I needed to. And he's like, you can't do that right now. He's like, you need to just sit and rest, and it's all coming up. So what's really beautiful about this though, is that it made me realize that I was going to be able to break the cycle, right? Like our parents struggled. I think a lot of people in our family have struggled, and they just kept, nah. And then their kids suffered, not because they don't love their kids, but because they didn't have the tools they needed to support their kids. So now I'm filling up my toolkit, right? Like I go to therapy and I feel better, but I'm getting all of these methods of how to reframe things and how to engage with my children. And it's cool because I've never been like a big yeller or anything, but like this has really helped me be a better mom. And I hope my kids, that's what I keep thinking. Like, I just don't ever want my kids to feel the way I did. Or if they do, I want them to know where they can get help. I want them to know that I'm a safe place for them to go to get help. And I could only do that if I got help. You know what I mean? So that was my...
It starts with you.
Mm-hmm. So that's why, even though it's a really sad, ugly story, it ends, I think, well, it's not over, it's still going, right? But for me, it opened this door of you can not be better, but like
you can improve your situation or your
like think about what
cognitive thinking, I guess, or something.
And it's probably been generations, honestly. Trauma like that doesn't just happen, right? It's like generation after generation. And you know, we know a little bit about what happened in our family. Like I have the other side of the family that they had stuff happen.
They all have different stories though. We have like 12 aunts. They all have different stories. It's all...
But that's my point. Like if we don't get help for that, we're just going to keep passing it on because we're going to do the same thing that we were shown, right? We're going to use the same parenting styles. We're going to do, and I was like, this is my chance, to make sure my kids don't, that when they're older and they go to therapy, it'll be for normal things. Like my mom, laughed at me. I don't know, something silly, but like nothing, I shouldn't downplay that, but nothing, I hope, traumatic. And my therapist said that too. He's like, you're at a crossroads. He's like, if you keep going the way you're going, he's like, your kids are young enough that you haven't done damage. He's like, because you've been able to control that. He's like, but this is where it'll start. He's like, this is where that trauma will come into play. He's like, or you can go this route where you get help and they don't have to live with what you lived. They don't have to have that burden. And I was like, oh, dang. So that's what I've done for like the last almost year. A little bit less because it was in September that I started.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome.
What I'm scared of as being a parent is that I wouldn't want to pass my burden to my son, but I also struggle thinking how much that burden helped me in general, like to become strong enough to like deal with crummy people in real life that are not family. Like obviously when you deal with family, like it's a different dynamic. But when you encounter somebody that's not family, that's treating you a certain way, and you're like, you can realize like, oh, you're not family. I don't have to like respect you. I don't have to do this. And so I learned how to deal with the situation because of certain stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what made me build up and continue to move forward and climb and just be, sort of a better person.
Yeah.
So, and in my sense, it's like, well, I don't want my burden to go into my son and he like see me the same way as somebody else. And so I treat him nicer, but then when he goes out to the real world, that's not there to like cuddle him. So he's gonna either learn at that moment or he's gonna get taken advantage, and that's what I'm afraid of. Also, like, so it's like it's a cycle where like, if we're going through a hard time, people are gonna get tough, and then those tough people are gonna build soft people because they're gonna hurt them in a way or something. That's like, so they're gonna look for a way to like or like they're, I don't know, like everybody's like, oh no, don't hurt me, oh you can't talk to me this way, and I was like, well, sometimes you need that tough love, which I kind of like, yeah, if it's constructive, give us some tough love. If you're just being mean, then you can walk off. But I don't know, does that make sense?
It does. But do you mind if I provide like an alternative perspective?
Oh, hell yeah. Or and by what Hasmin means is George, your perspective is wrong. She's gonna give you
No, it's not.
I'm
Because
just joking. No.
Is this too hard, too fast? We don't check facts.
No, I think you said, something, powerful there in that, we do grow through our experiences, right? Like they mold us, they shape us into who we are. But in my mind, what I'm doing for my kids is I'm not coddling them because I don't just like, I love you, go run wild, right? I'm giving them tools, right? I'm giving them tools into their toolbox. And when they do meet those people, instead of doing what I did, which was like, I was a super hardcore people pleaser. I still am sometimes. Because that's what I defaulted to, right? Because in growing up, I was like, shit, if you don't want to get yelled at, like you need to do this, right? So I don't want that for my kids. Like I want my kids to have the strength to know that they can stand for what they want. But I don't think I have to treat them, not that you do that, but I don't think I need to treat them with any less respect than I would treat any other adult for them to do that. So like my 4-year-old, you haven't seen her in a long time, Worm, but she is hilarious and she's also supreme.
She looks exactly like you when you were a kid.
You think so? I think she looks like Sergio. I don't know. Yeah, my 8-year-old looks like me, but yeah, so she's very, very independent, right? So there's times where she does stuff that I know is dangerous. So I was like, okay, I have an option. I can either be like, what are you doing? Like, what are you thinking? Like, don't do that. Get down, get off of there, right? Whatever. That's option one, which is the one I would default to because that's the one I know. Or I could, hey, please don't do that. Like, please don't get down, right? I mean, please get down. She's so funny. She's so funny. Which is option two, which we know doesn't do anything good because then that kid's never going to get down and they're gonna, I'm like, or like option three, which is like what I try to follow is like this idea of number one, natural consequences, but number two, talking her through her actions. So I'll be like, hey, you have two options. I'm like, you can get, like, assuming it's not something super dangerous, then she doesn't get options, right? Maybe she's jumping on the sofa. I'm like, hey, stop jumping on the sofa, please, right? Or, hey, don't jump on the sofa. Or, hey, get down is usually my hey, get off the sofa, because I don't like saying don't. And she'll be like, I don't want to, which is very normal for a 4-year-old, right?
Oh, I would.
Well, right, because that's my first instinct too, dude. Like, my first instinct is like, oh, you don't want to, well, and then we're right.
Ven para acá, cabrón.
No, yeah, but that's because my first instinct is that emotional response, right? Of like, who do you think you are? And I'm angry. But then I think if this was another adult who told me no, would I go and hit them? Pues no, because I'm a civilized human being. So why?
Mira nomás.
Right. Right. So like, I'll talk to her and I'll be like, okay. I'm like, here are your options. I'm like, either you choose to get down now on your own. I'm like, or you keep doing what you're doing, but you're not going to get to do the fun thing we're going to do later. And and it took some time. And she'll stop and she'll think and she'll be like, what's the fun thing? I'm like, well, we were going to watch a movie, but if you keep jumping on the sofa, how are we going to watch a movie together? Oh, and then she'll sit down. And then I can talk to her. Why shouldn't you jump on the sofa, Anna? Like, well, no, why shouldn't you jump on the sofa? Because it'll mess up the sofa? Definitely. And then we can talk about that, right? And then what can happen to you if you fall? I can hurt myself. And so far, that one conversation takes a long ass time. I'm not going to pretend. But she won't do it again. Like 9 times out of 10, she won't do it again because she understands like, oh, I shouldn't do this because I did this. I didn't let her do the thing. I didn't yell at her. But we got there through an alternative. So that's what I mean.
You're developing critical thinking, though.
But I couldn't do that before. Like, that came from therapy. You know what I mean? Like, because my first instinct was like, this is making me frustrated. I'm overwhelmed. I am. My feelings are valid.
Yeah, you just changed how I'm gonna parent if or when I have kids. Damn.
Ooh, I'm not saying it works all the time, though. Don't get me wrong. You'll meet my kids. I mean, you know my kids. My kids are.
Oh yeah. No.
But I mean, maybe they'll grow up and be serial killers, and I'll be like, don't do it. I take it back.
Why shouldn't you do this?
Why should you stop killing these people?
Yeah. Hey, very quick though.
George,
I want to
George, you're listening to this right now. Cut the serial killer stuff off.
Nah, leave it on, George. Hey, I want to get myself very quick.
No.
I want to go back.
At what point do your kids get that teacher stare?
So I don't even give my students the teacher stare.
What? Well, wait, George, give us your teacher stare, and then Jasmine, give us your teacher stare, if you had one. All right. I don't want to do homework.
That's a teacher stare.
That's what
if you were to tell me, I'd be like, okay, well, what's stopping you from doing the homework? Would be my response. Honestly, I wouldn't even do that.
Stare at them.
Mine would be like, you don't want to do the homework? That's fine. Don't do the homework. But you know what? When it comes down to doing something fun, that's when you're gonna do the homework because you're not gonna do the fun stuff. And then just stare. And then just stare. And that's it. It's like, I don't argue with kids. I do not argue. Because when it comes down to the fun stuff, that's when you are gonna want to argue. And then you're gonna tell me, that's when I will do the work.
I completely, and that's always my thing is always like, okay, what barriers? Like, because sometimes I don't know. Like, sometimes I'll assign something, and then a kid will be like, I don't want to do it. It's dumb. And I'll be like, well, what's keeping you from doing it? Like, let's start here. And they'll be like, and then it'll come out later. I'm like, oh, shoot, like that kid had an IEP that I didn't know about, right? Or they had a plan for them, like maybe their special needs, and I didn't know. And they see this, and it's not that they don't want to do it. It's like they're like, Miss, I can't do this the way you want me to do it. And then I feel like poop. Sometimes it really is, like you said, though, they're 14 to 18. So sometimes they're like, I just don't feel like doing it right now. And that's when I'm like, okay, well, the natural consequence to that would be, 1, you're going to get the 0 in the grade book. 2, I'm going to probably call your mom and talk to her about this, or your dad, or your legal guardian. I'm like, and 3, when we do exactly that, I'm like, when we move on to the next activity, you're still going to be stuck here. And it's weird because like you would think like the way you talk to a 4-year-old wouldn't work with a 14-year-old, but it really does because it's all based on like logic. Like, what are you choosing? Like, you make this choice. I'm not, and you said something so smart, Jorge, when you said I don't fight with kids. Yeah, once you get into a battle of wills, you've lost because you're the adult.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Hey,
if you're the adult arguing with a kid,
yeah, like you lost. Yeah.
100%.
Hey, I'm gonna bring us back to the teacher stuff, but very quick. I just I want to give myself credit.
Don't bring me back.
Wait, first, give us me credit. So one, to be honest, you know what I thought was so badass though. So going back to when you and Mr. Estrada were in A&M, I thought it was so badass that you guys were living there on campus with a kid, balancing school and being a parent. I thought that was so badass. That was just me. And I would even tell people, oh, I had a cousin who did that, dude. I just thought that was badass. And then to give myself credit, all right, I don't know if you remember, I went to your son's first
you stayed in our
birthday party when I was still at UTSA. Well, I was doing my master's and I was working there. And your mom went, and then I tried to get there early so we could hang out Friday and stuff, but oh well, at least I was there for the birthday party, so I thought that was real cool. You even rented something out, so.
I always remember that. That was such a fun, because like it was true. Like I was like so scared because I'm like, hey, I moved away. Who's gonna come to my kid's birthday party? And you did. Like you came from out of town. Like our other cousins came from Houston, and it was.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was cool. Do you remember the Buddha beer? You would have gone. I'm sorry, Jorge. I didn't know you. I would have invited you if I knew you.
Worm knew me. I don't know why Worm didn't take me.
I didn't think any. But well, what's funny though is, what I like about like my fraternity is I knew their family too, like their parent. Like I know George's parents, I know his siblings, and I know some other fraternity, like their parents and their stuff. So one of our fraternity brothers, his brother was going to A&M. So I don't know if you remember during the night. I'm like, hey, do you guys mind if I go meet him? And so yeah, I went to go meet him there in that little. What is it called? It's kind of like 6th Street and out, but
Northgate.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that bar area and stuff. So yeah, that was cool. Well, okay, so now bringing us back to, so that's all I wanted to mention. Now bringing us back to the teacher thing though. So another video you had, was I thought what was so funny was I think you're in your 7th year of teaching, and you're there chilling, grad school, and then first year teachers are panicking. Like, what the hell? So I do want to hear, George, what was your experience as a first year teacher, and then your first, and what advice, and yours has been, and then what advice do you have for first year teachers?
As a first year teacher?
Yeah.
See, my thing is weird because I'm a special education teacher, so I don't really have like that. Oh, you're just thrown to the wolves and you have a whole class of 18 to 25 kids. Like, mine is weird. Like, I go in, I'm like, I think for me as a special education teacher, you have to know the laws, the paperwork, the detail to the paperwork, and then also be a teacher. And it's weird. All
right, Hasmin, right now we'll come back to your advice. Hasmin, what was your first year teaching experience?
Those poor kids. Well, because you think you know what you're doing, but you don't. Like, you come out, they're all idealistic, and I think about stuff that I did because I was so young, dude. When I started teaching, I was like 22, 23, and they put me to teach seniors. Like, I was teaching 18-year-olds, and one of my sister was like an 18, like she was in my school. My sister was a senior at the school I taught at my first year teaching, so I knew a lot of those kids as my sister's friends, So it was I thought I had to be like this super like person, and it just goes against who I am. So the kids knew, like, what is this? What is she doing?
What does that mean? What does that mean? That like I have to be like, that teacher,
like strict, like don't do that. No, what are you doing?
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's what tia. That's what you asked.
That's not how I took it. I thought
you know what's funny? Our
like
tias
that.
were teachers too, so maybe that's.
I thought the way I took it when you said that teacher was like I have to be like that teacher is badass.
No,
just yell at them.
I realized
You
like,
guys with your sounds in El Paso, like, come on, man.
Hi, hi.
we do everything's a sound effect.
We have to.
It just comes out, right? But yeah. So I thought I knew what I was doing, and I was just so overwhelmed. But I had a lot of good mentors that helped a lot. So my first year, it was mostly like about making those connections that kept me sane with other teachers who had been doing it longer and who they helped out. It was not fun.
Oh
I
yeah,
know.
always you have to connect with the veteran
Definitely.
and the good veterans, because there's some veterans that are not.
Right,
You
well, that's
know,
good advice.
they're checked out and they're done. But connect with the ones that have experience, and they'll lead you. I was lucky enough that I had a lot of good teachers that just taught me the way, man. And that's what it was. And unfortunately, like these past few years, a lot of them have been lost, and I feel bad about it because I don't think I would still be a teacher right now if it wasn't for them.
Wow, that's cool. Hey, it was me. We didn't even we haven't even gone to a third of the things I wanted to talk to. I guess to end, George, you don't know this. Hasmin got Teacher of the Year one year.
Oh,
Didn't you?
must be nice.
A couple of years ago.
Well, you did, right? Or did I imagine that?
No, I did.
So, George, did you ever get Teacher of the Year?
I like to like fly under the radar. Like I do a lot of good, but just like I don't need the recognition. Just kidding.
I'm sure she didn't ask for the recognition, but no,
No, I'm sure. I'm not. I'm
How
kidding.
did that feel getting recognized though?
I mean, it feels nice. So the way I don't know how they do it, like in other cities. I don't know if it's like a Texas thing, but the way it works here, I'm also gonna shout out my husband's the Teacher of the Year this year, so I'm like, ooh, he's cool too, because we teach at the same school. But
Nobody likes to show off.
I'm showing up.
We get it. You're TikTok famous. You're the greatest teacher in the
Famous teacher.
world.
You're
Your
the
husband
best
is
at what you
second
do.
greatest. We get it. Oh my
No.
God. I'm just here as a teacher with a podcast on the side. I
I
get
know
it.
the podcast, but no. The way it works is our colleagues vote, right? Like everybody votes for Teacher of the Year. I don't know if they do it for the same for you all, and then whoever gets the most votes, that's who wins there. What I didn't,
Is that how it works? Our colleagues. That's why I cannot get teacher.
that's how it works on my campus.
I have no friends.
But that's
barely his friend.
don't even. But so that feels nice, right? Like, oh, other people I work with recognize that I work hard, and it's really nice. What's weird though is that it takes a weird turn, because from that point, like it does. Once you're done, right, with that, like I thought that's it. You get Teacher of the Year and you're done. Like, no, then there's like a next step where you have to go and do an interview. And then they select the top 5 teachers for the secondary school, right? So I was lucky enough to get to that point. But those people are freaking cutthroat. Like I was like, oh, I won. I'm just gonna go talk and be myself. And they're like, no, you have to do this presentation and you have to go practice. And then it all becomes like this weird semi-quasi political game.
What do you do the presentation
to all these different people from central office.
Oh, wow.
And it's a whole thing. Like you have to like plan, and then you go to a gala, and then they announce the winner. And then that winner goes on to the regional level. And then from there, it's the state. So like the year that I lost, because I got top 5 and then I lost.
Wait, how far did you go? Regional or state? Or?
No, I didn't even win it for my district. I got it for my school, and then I got top 5. But the person who won from our district went on to win at the state level.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Like, yeah, she's awesome. Like she's like an amazing teacher. But it was weird because I didn't realize how much went into that. Huh?
That it's a competition.
Well, not only that it's like it's everything. Like everything about your image from that point becomes super controlled. And I was like, I just didn't know. Like I honestly didn't know how much that was. It's cool. Like. And I definitely think it's great that we recognize teachers who deserve it and like work hard, because all teachers deserve it. Like all teachers deserve recognition, especially after this year. But I wasn't prepared for the political side of it, and I didn't care for that very much.
Wow, that's great. So the teacher who won went all the
So
way to
you
state,
should have just
still
walked in and
teaching
said,
at where she's at, or was there a promotion, or is she doing?
No, she's teaching where she's at. She's a middle school teacher, and she does a
"Did
lot
she
of.
win anything? What does she win for winning?"
You get money at every step of the way.
Nice,
Yeah.
George.
When
Hey,
When you win.
that's your
Could you
motivation
walk
right
in
there.
and be like, "Hey, you know what? 1 point something thousand followers, 1.3 million likes. Bye,
Like show them my TikTok page.
bye." You know what? When somebody said like, if there was a teacher of the year award anywhere near me, and they said I needed to like interview and do like a whole, what is this, like a American Idol or The Voice? Like,
Mhm.
my kids don't benefit from this. Nah, I'm out. I don't care. Definitely do not care.
The only cool thing that I'm like, dang, is that when you do win, that recognition it doesn't go to your kids, but people are more willing to help out your kids. Does that make sense? Because then you can use it. So kind of like with TikTok, right? Like I have some funny videos which are fun, but then I put
But
out that video.
then you
Mhm.
can get that better. Okay. No, I'm sorry. Say your thing, and then I'm gonna say it.
Go ahead. No, just that I'm like, I can kind of see why if you knew how to do it, you could use that to your advantage because you could like, hey, you have access to people that you wouldn't normally have access to. And you could be like, you know what, this is going on my campus. And this, these are the things that people follow you and people are a little more willing to maybe help a little bit, especially in El Paso. Like I think like every single school pretty much is like a Title I school. Our kids need as many resources as others are willing to give. So I can see why somebody like could use it. I just don't have that kind of like I didn't have it in me to do all that. And the person who won more than deserved to win. Like she deserves to. Like, I deserve to lose is what I'm getting at. But even if
No,
they had that,
they're
it
all
would've been-
great people. I get
no,
it. But I think for me, it would be like I don't want that kind of recognition because then I have to be somebody that I don't want to be. Like I have to pretend like I'm I'm a perfect person, and I'm not a perfect person. So this is
Oh,
why I
we know
like it.
that.
And this podcast, like it almost shows like I'm not a perfect person. And like at the very beginning, Worm said that I want to be famous. I don't want to be famous. I would like to be famous, but
What's
for
the
the fact that if maybe that fame could help somebody else. Like my only thing of always doing anything that I've done on social media is how can I help somebody else?
yes.
And so that's my thing. Like if I do become famous, then how does that help somebody else? How does it help the special needs community? How does it help somebody that's struggling with mental illness and thinking about suicide and all that stuff that we just talked about? Or at the very least, like I've always told Warm, at the very least, does this podcast entertain somebody? And I think it does. Like somehow, like our jokes are just being weird ourselves. It entertains someone. But if we can help somebody realize that they're not alone, that we're all going through something, and that's what it is. Like I don't want to be the teacher of the year and then have my hands tied. I can't do what I want because I have to pretend I'm perfect. And then as soon as I mess up, it's like, this is your teacher of the year. No.
Yeah.
I get you. All right, to kind of wrap up, that way we don't hold up Hasmin and stuff. One last question, if you have one, if you feel comfortable sharing. By chance, do you have a too hard, too fast story? And by too hard, too fast, where you drank too hard, like too many, you drank too fast, and you just got drunk in an hour, 2 hours, whatever.
I don't.
Okay, do you have a story of someone else? Maybe you're at a party and they got drunk.
I'm sure I do, but I can't think. I know that sounds dumb, but I can't think right now.
No, okay, no, that's fine.
Sorry. I'll think of one. So we continue this.
All
I
right.
can tell
We're
you
not
guys
yet, dude. We didn't even get through like a
Yay.
third of the stuff. So I have so much, but hey, for now, would you come back again?
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. Just only because I have to get the kids to bed because I'm like, oh shoot, it's 9:15.
Okay.
But yeah.
So no too hard, too fast story, but
Think of one.
I will.
think of what for the next time. All right, 2H2F first. This is the end. We've reached it. It's Thursday. And you know what that means? Tomorrow's Friday. Jasmine, how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling really good. Thank you all for inviting me. This was a lot of fun getting to just talk to both of you.
This was fun. Hey, we talked about fun stuff. We talked about TikTok stuff. We talked about real stuff. It got real quick in certain situations. But I appreciate that you opened up. We kind of talked about, you know, we were all vulnerable. I can't even talk anymore. But thank you for going too hard, too fast with us. Worm, what are you going to say?
Teacher of the Year at Miss Estrada 915. Go follow her on TikTok.
Thank you.
Hey, you deserve it. And you deserve anything that comes your way. You seem like an awesome person. I've just met you right now. And I appreciate that.
Of course, she's my cousin, dude.
Well, then that's the only negative thing against you. But other than that, I appreciate that you came on the podcast and you're willing to come back on. We follow each other on the Instagrams now. So we'll hook up again. And with that said, remember, dare to be you, dare to be weird. Bye.
Está loco.